My name is Elena Harper. I'm 26. On Saturday, June 8th at 7:47 p.m., my adoptive father slapped me across the face in front of 35 people at his own birthday party because I gave him a wallet that cost $92 instead of the designer watch he wanted. The sound echoed across the backyard. Champagne flutes stopped midair. String lights swayed in the silence. My left cheek burned so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. "What kind of worthless junk did you give me?" Victor Landon held up the leather wallet like it was contaminated. "Your sister gave me a tag heuer. You give me this?" I'd saved for 3 months. $3.72 every shift at Millie's roadside diner, where I prepped vegetables and scrubbed pans for $13 an hour. I'd walked an hour and a half each way to save bus fare. The wallet was real leather, hand-stitched. I'd checked the craftsmanship twice before buying it. "I thought you needed a new wallet," I said quietly. "You mentioned yours was falling apart." "I mentioned I wanted the Carrera model." Victor's voice was cold, controlled, the voice he used when he wanted everyone to hear. "But you never listen. You've never contributed anything useful to this family." My adoptive mother Karen touched his arm. "Victor, maybe we should—" "No." He cut her off. "Brooke needs to understand that effort without results is just laziness with extra steps." That's what they called me. Brooke. Brooke Landon. I'd been Elena Harper for the first 3 years of my life, but they'd buried that name the same day they finalized the adoption. No one at this party knew my real name. No one knew I existed before the Landons decided I was worth $810 a month in government assistance. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Sophia laughed. My adoptive sister, their biological daughter, stood by the dessert table in a dress that cost more than I made in 2 months. "Brooke, you're so embarrassing. Even I know Dad wanted the watch." She was wearing the Apple Watch Ultra they'd given her for her 23rd birthday. I'd gotten a used backpack from Goodwill for mine. Victor dropped the wallet on the grass, stepped on it, ground his heel into the leather. I stood there, face burning, hands shaking, while 35 relatives and friends looked everywhere except at me. My Aunt Linda suddenly needed more wine. My Uncle James checked his phone. The neighbors started a conversation about weather. The slap came when I bent down to pick up the wallet. Not hard enough to knock me over, just hard enough to make the point. Hard enough that everyone would remember who was in charge. "Leave it," Victor said. "It belongs in the dirt." I left it. I walked through the back gate, past the pool with the automatic cover, past Sophia's Honda Civic parked in the driveway, past the house where I'd spent 23 years sleeping in a converted storage closet while Sophia had the master bedroom with the bay windows. I didn't cry. I'd learned a long time ago that tears were a currency the Landons didn't accept. Let me take you back 24 years to when I still believed love was something you didn't have to earn. I was 2 years old. My mother, Lauren Harper, was driving me home from daycare on Interstate 77. It was raining. A semi-truck jackknifed across 3 lanes. The police report said she died on impact. I survived with a fractured collarbone and no memory of her face. What I do remember is the smell. Years later, when I was maybe 7 or 8, I found a box in the Landon's attic. Inside was a silk scarf that smelled like vanilla and rain. I didn't know why I started crying when I held it. I didn't know that scent memory is the strongest kind. I didn't know it was hers. I also remember Evelyn Porter. She lived next door to the Landons for 15 years. She was 72 years old, 5 foot 1 inch tall, with hands that always smelled like lavender hand cream. She used to watch me walk to the bus stop at 5:30 in the morning when I was in high school, leaving early to finish my chores before the Landons woke up. "Little star," she'd call me. "You're up so early." I never told her why, but I think she knew. The day after Victor's birthday party, I showed up for my shift at Millie's roadside diner at 5:45 a.m. My cheek had a faint bruise the shape of 4 fingers. I covered it with makeup I'd bought from the dollar store. Rita, the day manager, took one look at me and poured me coffee without asking. "Rough night?" she said. Family party. I tied on my apron, started filling the industrial sink with soapy water. Rita was 56, had worked at Millie's for 19 years, and asked exactly 0 questions when I'd applied 3 months ago with just a high school equivalency certificate and no references. She'd seen the address on my application, Thornwood Apartments, the section with the month-to-month leases and coin laundry. "You moved out," she'd said on my first day. Not a question. "Yes, ma'am." "Good for you." That was it. No follow-up, no prying, just respect for the things I didn't say. I spent 4 hours washing dishes, prepping vegetables for the lunch rush, scrubbing grease traps until my hands were raw. $11.20 after taxes, 44 hours a week, $486 every 2 weeks after they took out rent advance I'd begged for when I first moved. I'd enrolled in the GED program 6 months ago. Night classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the community center. After I passed, I was going to apply to the culinary arts program at Central Piedmont Community College. I had $420 hidden in a shoebox under my bed, tip money from the weekend breakfast rushes, cash I'd saved $1 at a time. The Landons didn't know about the shoebox. They didn't know I was studying cooking. They didn't know I woke up every morning at 4:15 a.m. and walked 90 minutes to work because I was choosing this, not because I was trapped. At 2:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Brooke, this is your mother." "Karen. Not my mother. Never my mother." "Hi," I said. "We need to talk about your behavior yesterday. Your father is very upset." My hands were deep in dishwater. I wedged the phone between my shoulder and ear. "I'm at work." "This is more important than work. You humiliated him in front of his guests. You need to apologize." "I gave him a gift." "You gave him garbage." Karen's voice was sharp. "And then you made a scene by walking out. Sophia is embarrassed. She told her friends her sister doesn't know how to behave in public." The water in the sink had gone cold. I pulled the plug, watched it drain. "I have to go," I said. "We expect you for dinner on Sunday. 6 o'clock. Wear something presentable." She hung up before I could respond. Rita was standing in the doorway. She'd heard everything. "You don't have to go," she said quietly. "I know." But I went anyway. Because some part of me, the part that was still 3 years old and looking for a mother who smelled like vanilla and rain, thought maybe this time would be different. Sunday dinner at the Landons was served at exactly 6 o'clock in the formal dining room with the crystal chandelier and china plates that cost $47 each. I knew because I'd had to hand wash them for 9 years before they decided I was competent enough to use the dishwasher. I wore the one dress I owned that didn't have stains. Black, polyester, purchased from a clearance rack for $18. Sophia wore Reformation. She told me the price, $178, before I even sat down. Victor waited until we'd finished the salad course. "Your mother tells me you were disrespectful on the phone." "I was at work," I said. "I told her I had to go." "You hung up on her." "She hung up on me." Victor set down his fork. The sound of metal on china was very loud. "That's not how I heard it." I looked at Karen. She was studying her plate. "Are you calling me a liar?" Victor's voice was quiet, dangerous. This was the dance. The script I'd learned over 23 years. Disagree, and I was disrespectful. Agree, and I was admitting fault. Stay silent, and I was sulking. "No," I said. "No what?" "No, sir." He smiled. Not the kind of smile that reaches eyes. "Good. Then you'll apologize to your mother and to me and we'll move on." Something had shifted in me since the slap. Something small but permanent, like a bone that healed wrong and wouldn't bend the same way anymore. "I apologize," I said. But I didn't mean it. And for the first time, I didn't care that they knew. The rest of dinner was silent except for Sophia talking about her summer internship at a marketing firm. Paid $1,500 a month, plus Valuable experience. The Landons had gotten her the position through their church connections. No one asked about my job. No one asked about the GED classes. No one asked about my face, which still had the faint shadow of bruise even under makeup. I left at 7:43 p.m., walked to the bus stop 6 blocks away because I'd given up asking them for rides. Evelyn Porter was sitting on her porch when I passed her house. "Little star," she called. "Come here a minute." I climbed her steps, sat in the wicker chair that creaked under my weight. "I saw what happened at that party," Evelyn said. "Through my window." My throat went tight. "It's fine. It's not fine. It's never been fine." She reached over, patted my hand. Her fingers were cool and papery. "How long have you been out of that house?" 3 months. "Good girl." She was quiet for a moment. "Your mama would be proud." I froze. "You knew my mother?" "I knew of her. Lauren Harper. Car accident on I-77, June 2003. You were 2 years old. I read about it in the paper." Evelyn's eyes were sharp despite her age. "I also read about the adoption. Title IV, e-assistance, $810 a month for special needs adoption. You had a fractured collarbone from the crash. That qualified as special needs." The number hit me like cold water. $810? Every month for 23 years. Evelyn did the math out loud. "That's $223,560. Government money meant for your care, your education, your medical needs." I thought about the storage closet, the Goodwill backpack, the fact that I hadn't seen a doctor since I was 14 because Karen said I was too expensive to insure. "They kept it," I whispered. "Every penny." Evelyn stood up slowly, joints cracking. "Come inside. I have something to show you." Her living room smelled like lavender and old books. She pulled a manila folder from her desk drawer. Inside were printouts, newspaper clippings, documents. "I've been keeping records," Evelyn said. 15 years worth. Every time I saw you leave for school in January wearing a jacket too thin for winter. Every time I saw Sophia get a new car while you walked. Every time I heard him yelling through the walls." She pulled out a photograph. Me at maybe 8 years old, taking out the trash in pajamas at 6 a.m. in December. Frost on the ground. No coat. "I'm old," Evelyn said, "but I'm not blind, and I'm not going to die without doing something about this." She handed me a business card. "Attorney Marcus Webb, family law specialist in Charlotte." "He's expecting your call," Evelyn said. "I already talked to him, told him everything I've seen. He thinks you have a case, adoption fraud, financial exploitation, maybe more." My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the card. "I don't have money for a lawyer. He's working pro bono. He does 1 case a year for free. This year, it's yours." Evelyn squeezed my shoulder. "Your mama didn't leave you money, little star, but she left you a name. Elena Harper. It's time to take it back." I called Marcus Webb the next morning at 8:12 a.m. From the back parking lot of Millie's during my break. He answered on the second ring. "This is Marcus." "My name is Elena Harper," I said. The name felt strange and right in my mouth. "Evelyn Porter gave me your number." "Elena, yes. I've been hoping you'd call." His voice was warm, professional. "Evelyn told me about your situation. I'd like to meet with you. Are you free this week?" "I work every day except Monday." "Monday works. My office. 10 a.m. Bring any documents you have. Birth certificate, social security card, adoption papers." "I don't have any of those things." There was a pause. "They never gave them to you?" "No." I could hear him writing. "Okay. That's actually helpful. We'll request them through the proper channels. Elena, I want to be clear about something. This is going to be difficult. The Landons will fight back. They'll say things about you. They'll try to discredit you. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about the slap, the wallet in the dirt, 23 years of being told I was worthless. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." Monday morning, I took the bus to downtown Charlotte. Marcus Webb's office was on the 14th floor of a glass building with a lobby that smelled like expensive coffee. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, wire-rimmed glasses, kind eyes. "Elena," he said, shaking my hand, "thank you for coming." He sat across from me with a legal pad and pen. "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." So I did. The storage closet, the chores, the fact that Sophia got everything while I got nothing, the missing documents, the slap at the party. Marcus took notes, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he set down his pen. "Here's what I think happened," he said. "The Landons adopted you specifically for the Title IV-E subsidy. It's not uncommon. Some people see adoption assistance as income. They take in kids, collect the monthly payment, and provide the bare minimum care. Can we prove that? We can try. We'll need financial records showing where that money went. We'll need witnesses who can testify to your living conditions. We'll need medical records, or the lack of them, showing neglect." He leaned forward. "The bigger question is the adoption itself. If your biological father didn't voluntarily give up his rights, the adoption could be invalid." My father? I'd never heard anyone mention a father. "Ethan Harper. He's listed on your original birth certificate. According to the court records, he signed a voluntary relinquishment of parental rights 3 days before your mother died." Marcus pulled out a document. "But I've been looking into Ethan Harper. He's alive, living in Asheville, works as a carpenter. And when I called him last week, he told me something interesting." My heart was pounding. "What?" "He never signed anything. He didn't even know Lauren had died until 6 months after the accident. He tried to find you, spent 2 years searching, but by then, the adoption was finalized and sealed." The room tilted. "They forged his signature?" "That's my theory. I've requested the original relinquishment document for handwriting analysis. If the signature is forged, the adoption is void. Everything the Landons did, keeping the subsidy money, withholding your identity, all of it, becomes fraud." I sat there, trying to process. 23 years. My entire life. "There's something else," Marcus said quietly. "I pulled the court records from your adoption. There was a social worker assigned to your case, Marcus Hale. He approved the placement despite some concerns noted by the foster care agency. 3 days before the adoption was finalized, Marcus Hale received a wire transfer of $6,200 from Victor Landon's personal bank account. He bribed him. It looks that way. I've contacted the district attorney's office. They're opening an investigation." I couldn't breathe. "What happens now?" "Now we file a petition to void the adoption based on fraud. We subpoena the financial records. We depose the Landons and Marcus Hale, and we wait for the court date." He smiled. "Elena, this is going to take months, maybe a year, but at the end of it you'll have your name back, your identity, and if we're lucky, restitution for the funds they stole." I walked out of that office at 11:47 a.m. into bright June sunshine. The city looked different, sharper, like I was seeing it for the first time without a film over my eyes. The Landons found out about the lawsuit on a Wednesday. I know because Victor called me at 2:33 p.m. while I was prepping onions at Millie's. "What the hell have you done?" he shouted into the phone. I put him on speaker, kept chopping. "I filed a lawsuit." "For what? You have nothing. You are nothing. We took you in when no one else wanted you. You took me in for $810 a month." Silence. Then, "You're insane. Who's been filling your head with this garbage?" "My lawyer, Marcus Webb. You'll be hearing from him soon." "You can't afford a lawyer." "Pro bono. He thinks I have a strong case." I scooped the onions into a container, started on the peppers. Adoption fraud, financial exploitation, forgery, bribery of a public official. Did I miss anything? Victor's voice dropped to something dangerous. "If you go through with this, you're done. No family, no support, nothing. I've had nothing for 23 years, I'm used to it. You'll regret this." Maybe, but you'll regret it more. I hung up. My hands were steady. Rita was standing in the doorway again. That took guts, she said. No, I said. That took 23 years of not having any other choice. The next 3 months were a blur of depositions and document requests. Marcus Webb moved fast. By August, we had the handwriting analysis back. Ethan Harper's signature on the relinquishment form was forged. The handwriting expert was 99% certain. The report was 52 pages long. We had the bank records showing the wire transfer to Marcus Hale. $6,200. Sent from Victor Landon's personal account on March 8, 2008, 5 days before the adoption was finalized. We had Title IV disbursement records. $223,560 paid to the Landons over 23 years, not one penny spent on my education, medical care, or clothing. Karen had purchased a Mercedes last year, cash, $48,000. We had Evelyn Porter's testimony. 15 years of observations, photographs, dates, times, the unequal treatment, the neglect, the slap at the birthday party that she'd witnessed through her kitchen window. And we had Ethan Harper, my biological father. A man I'd never met who'd spent 2 years trying to find me before giving up, thinking I was happy somewhere with a new family. I met him in September. Marcus arranged it at a coffee shop in Asheville. Neutral territory. Ethan was 49 years old, tall, calloused hands from carpentry work. He had my eyes. Same gray-green color, same shape. He cried when he saw me. You look just like Lauren. I didn't know what to say. 24 years of missing. 24 years of lies. I tried, he said. I swear to God I tried to find you. But they told me the adoption was sealed. They told me you were better off. I believed them. It's not your fault, I said. I should have fought harder. He pulled out a photograph. My mother, Lauren Harper, dark hair, bright smile, holding a baby, me, wrapped in a yellow blanket. She loved you so much. She would have fought for you. She would have never stopped. I took the photograph, stared at the woman I didn't remember. What was she like? Fierce, stubborn, terrible at cooking, but she tried anyway. He smiled through tears. She used to sing to you, made up songs, called you her little star because you were born at 2:47 in the morning. Little star. Evelyn had called me that. She must have known. I want you to know, Ethan said carefully. I'm not trying to replace anything. I know I'm a stranger to you. But if you'll let me, I'd like to get to know you. Maybe have coffee sometimes. Maybe I could come to your court hearing. I nodded. Couldn't speak past the lump in my throat. We had coffee 3 more times before the court date. He told me stories about my mother, about their plans for the future that got cut short on a rainy day on Interstate 77, about how he'd kept every baby photo he had of me, hoping someday he'd find me again. He never once asked me for anything, never pressured me, just offered space for me to exist without expectation. It was the kindest thing anyone had ever done for me. The court hearing was scheduled for December 14th at 10 a.m., Family Court, Charlotte, North Carolina. Judge Marissa Caldwell presiding. I wore the black dress, the $18 one. It was the best I had. The Landons arrived with their lawyer, expensive suits, confident expressions. Sophia sat in the back row, scrolling on her phone. Ethan sat behind me, Evelyn beside him. Rita had closed the diner to come. Marcus sat at the table with me, organized stacks of documents in front of him. Judge Caldwell was in her 50s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. We're here regarding case number FL20258-847, Elena Harper versus Victor and Karen Landon, petition to void adoption based on fraud. She looked at Marcus. Counselor, you may proceed. Marcus stood. Your Honor, Elena Harper was adopted by the Landons in March of 2008 when she was 3 years old. The adoption was facilitated through a forged relinquishment of parental rights and a bribed social worker. For 23 years, the Landons collected $223,560 in Title IV adoption assistance while providing substandard care and withholding Elena's identity documents. We're asking this court to void the adoption and order full restitution. The Landons' lawyer, a man named Richard Thorpe, stood. Your Honor, this is a vindictive action by a troubled young woman who's had difficulty adjusting to adult life. The Landons provided excellent care. They raised Miss Brooke as their own daughter. My name is Elena, I said quietly. Judge Caldwell looked at me. You'll have your chance to speak, Miss Harper. The next 2 hours were testimony. Marcus called Evelyn first. She walked to the witness stand slowly, leaning on her cane. Mrs. Porter, how long have you lived next door to the Landons? Marcus asked. 15 years. And during that time, did you observe how they treated Elena Harper? I did. Evelyn's voice was steady. The girl slept in a storage closet, 6 feet by 8 feet. No window. One bare bulb. I know because I saw it once when I brought over mail that was delivered to my house by mistake. Karen showed me around, proud as anything, but she didn't open that door. Elena opened it later when she thought no one was looking. What else did you observe? Unequal treatment. Sophia, their biological daughter, got a car for her 16th birthday. Elena walked. Sophia got designer clothes. Elena wore thrift store items. Sophia went to private school. Elena went to public school until she dropped out to work full-time because the Landons said they couldn't afford to support her anymore. Did you witness the incident on June 8th of this year? I did. Through my kitchen window. I saw Victor Landon slap Elena across the face because she gave him a birthday gift he didn't like. 35 people there. No one stopped him. Thorpe tried to object. Judge Caldwell overruled him. Marcus called Ethan next. He testified about the forged signature, about spending 2 years searching for me, about never consenting to give up his parental rights. Then Marcus put the documents on the projector. The Title IV disbursement summary, $223,560 in bright green highlight. The wire transfer to Marcus Hale, $6,200, 5 days before the adoption. The handwriting analysis, 52 pages concluding the signature was forged with 99.9% certainty. Finally, Marcus called me. I walked to the witness stand, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. Elena, tell the court about your living conditions in the Landon home, Marcus said. I told them. The storage closet, the chores starting at 5:30 every morning, the fact that I'd never seen a doctor after age 14, the fact that I didn't have my birth certificate, social security card, or any identity documents, the fact that I'd been called Brooke for 23 years, despite being born Elena Harper. Did the Landons ever explain why you were treated differently than Sophia? No, but I figured it out eventually. I was worth $810 a month. Sophia wasn't. Thorpe stood. Objection. Speculation. Overruled, Judge Caldwell said. Continue, Miss Harper. On June 8th, Victor slapped me in front of 35 people because I gave him a wallet that cost $92 instead of a designer watch. I'd saved for 3 months. I walked an hour and a half each way to work to save bus fare. The wallet was real leather. He threw it on the ground and stepped on it. What did you do? I picked it up and left. I haven't been back since. Marcus nodded. Thank you, Elena. No further questions. Thorpe approached. Miss Harper, or Miss Landon, as you've been known, isn't it true that you've struggled with employment, that you dropped out of high school, that you've made poor financial decisions? I didn't drop out. I got my GED. I work 44 hours a week as a prep cook. I'm enrolled in culinary school starting in January, and my financial decisions are fine considering I've had zero support since I turned 18. The Landons provided you a home. The Landons provided themselves $810 a month. I just happened to live there while they collected it. Judge Caldwell interrupted. Mr. Thorpe, do you have any evidence to refute the handwriting analysis? The bank records? The witness testimony? Your Honor, families are complicated. Just because the Landons made mistakes doesn't mean… Mistakes? Judge Caldwell's voice was ice. Forgery is a felony. Bribery of a public official is a felony. Financial exploitation of a minor is a felony. Are those the mistakes you're referring to? Thorpe sat down. Judge Caldwell looked at the Landons. Mr. and Mrs. Landon, do you have anything to say before I rule? Victor stood, confident, entitled. Your Honor, we raised that girl. We gave her a home. We gave her opportunities. If she's unhappy, that's her problem, not ours. Karen grabbed his arm. Victor, don't… No, she needs to hear this. He turned to me. You've always been ungrateful, always causing problems. We should have left you in foster care where you belonged. Mr. Landon, Judge Caldwell said sharply, sit down. But Victor wasn't done. He was unraveling. 23 years of control slipping through his fingers. You want to know the truth? The truth is you were easy money. $810 a month for doing nothing. We fed you. We clothed you. You should be thanking us. Victor, shut up. Karen was pale, shaking. Why? She's going to hear it anyway. Yeah, I paid Marcus Hale $6,200. Yeah, I forged Ethan Harper's signature. So what? The system is broken. We just worked around it. The courtroom was silent. Marcus didn't move, didn't smile, just let Victor keep talking. And you know what the funny part is? Victor looked at me. We were going to file for adult guardianship. Keep the subsidy going past your 26th birthday, but you moved out too fast. Cost us almost $10,000 a year. Judge Caldwell was writing furiously. Are you finished, Mr. Landon? Victor seemed to realize what he'd said. The color drained from his face. Your Honor, I was speaking emotionally. I didn't mean… Sit down. He sat. Judge Caldwell looked at the documents in front of her, then at me, then at the Landons. I've been a family court judge for 17 years. I've seen a lot of terrible things. But this… She shook her head. This is exploitation in its purest form. You took a child who'd lost her mother, and you turned her into a profit center. You erased her identity. You denied her basic care. You collected $223,560 meant for her education and medical needs, and you spent it on luxury cars and designer clothes for your biological daughter. Karen was crying. Sophia had stopped scrolling on her phone. The evidence is overwhelming. The handwriting analysis proves forgery. The bank records prove bribery. Your own testimony, Mr. Landon, proves intent to defraud. Judge Caldwell's voice was hard. I am voiding the adoption ab initio, meaning it never legally existed. Elena Harper's original birth certificate will be restored. Ethan Harper's parental rights are reinstated. Ethan made a sound behind me. Relief or grief, I couldn't tell. Furthermore, I am ordering Victor and Karen Landon to pay full restitution of $223,560 plus interest and legal fees. The case is being referred to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. And I am issuing a protective order preventing the Landons from contacting Elena Harper in any capacity. She brought down the gavel. We're adjourned. The Landons sat frozen. Their lawyer was already packing his briefcase, distancing himself. I stood up slowly. My legs were shaking. Ethan hugged me. Evelyn squeezed my hand. Rita was crying in the back row. Marcus was grinning. You did it, Elena. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. 23 years of my life, and it came down to 52 pages of handwriting analysis and a wire transfer receipt. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. News had spread about the case, local news vans, cameras. Miss Harper, how does it feel to get your name back? I stopped on the steps, looked at the cameras. It feels like waking up after a really long nightmare, I said. and realizing the nightmare was real, but it's finally over. That night, I sat in my apartment, the tiny one-bedroom with the coin laundry, and read my original birth certificate for the first time. Name: Elena Marie Harper. Mother: Lauren Marie Harper. Father: Ethan James Harper. Born: March 17, 1999, 2:47 a.m. My mother had named me Elena. It meant bright light. I thought about Evelyn calling me Little Star, about being born at 2:47 in the morning, about a mother I'd never remember who'd loved me enough to give me a name that meant something. 6 months later, I graduated from the culinary arts program at Central Piedmont Community College. Top of my class. 3.9 GPA. Ethan came to the ceremony. So did Evelyn and Rita. We took photos afterward, my graduation cap crooked on my head, grinning like an idiot. The Landons didn't come. They were busy with their criminal trial. Victor was facing 5 felony counts. Karen had pled guilty to conspiracy and testified against him in exchange for probation. Sophia sent me a text 2 weeks after the court hearing. Just one line. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. She'd lived in that house too. She'd seen the storage closet. She'd watched me walk while she drove. Maybe she didn't know about the fraud, but she'd known about the inequality, and she'd never questioned it. The restitution money came through in March. $237,000 after interest and legal fees. I put most of it in a trust fund, kept $30,000 for living expenses and tuition for a bachelor's degree in culinary management. I moved to a better apartment, 2 bedrooms, real kitchen with a gas stove. I adopted a cat from the shelter, named her Star. Ethan and I have coffee every Sunday. We're building something slow and careful, not trying to replace 24 years, just trying to know each other now. Evelyn is still my favorite person. I bring her dinner every Wednesday. We watch Jeopardy and argue about the answers. I still work at Millie's roadside diner. Rita promoted me to sous chef. I run the kitchen on weekends. If you're watching this and you've ever felt like you're not enough, like you're taking up too much space, like you owe someone for basic care, you don't. You never did. You're not a paycheck. You're not a burden. You're a person who deserves to exist without apology. And if someone tries to tell you otherwise, remember this: their cruelty is about their character, not your value. I think about my mother sometimes, Lauren Harper, the woman who drove me home from daycare on a rainy day and never made it. I think about the name she gave me, Elena. Bright light. I'm trying to live up to it. The end. If you've ever had to choose yourself over someone who should have chosen you first, type "I chose me" in the comments. Or if you're still building the courage to walk away, type "I'm getting there." Both are valid. Both matter. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories about finding your voice when the world tries to silence it. Thank you for being here.